Hey guys, Prangell Gaming here. Welcome back to Talk the Ball. This is the 27th installment, and before we get right into any of your responses or questions you may have had, if you haven't seen any of the other 26 installments, then why not go check them out? There is going to be a link in the description of this video for the last Talk the Ball. Alternatively, you could access the playlist by clicking the I button. But as always, if you have any questions or opinions, do feel free to put them in the comments section of this video because I want a Millwall voice throughout. Also, before we get into this, why not put your score predictions for the FA Cup tie against Bournemouth in the comments sections, and then say also what you felt went right and wrong in that game. I cannot wait for that game. Hopefully it'll be an interesting one, but you know we're probably going to lose. Now, do bear in mind I recorded this on Monday after when we played AFC Wimbledon, so if anything has become outdated or if any new news stories appear, then I'll cover them next week. Now, on to your predictions for the last two matches. Those, of course, being against Gillingham in that derby game, and also most recent, which was another technically derby game against AFC Wimbledon, which was away from home. And we'll start with your predictions against Gillingham. Now, no one actually got the score prediction right, but a few of you were very close. And now those people were Joe Holloway, Liam Gaming, and Elite She. They all predicted that the score would end up finishing 2-0 to the Lions. Now, their downfall was not expecting Gillingham to get the goal. Also, Liam Gaming was very close with the correct goal scorers, so he said Lee Gregory would score and so would Steve Morison. Well, in that game, Gregory did score, but Morison didn't. Next closest was Talk Gillingham. He said that the score would end up being 1-1, and he said the two goal scorers for either side, first for his side, which he supports, Gillingham, he said Josh Wright would score for them, and he said for Aiden O'Brien would be scoring for us, and he said it could go either of two ways, as Gillingham could play superb and beat Millwall, or they could not turn up at all and lose. Another person that was one goal off with their prediction was Tunbridge Fan TV. He said that the game would end up finishing 3-1 to Millwall. Now, moving on onto your predictions that were wrong by more than one goal, and we're going to start with Joe Conway, who thought the game would end up finishing 1-0. He said that Aiden O'Brien would score. Now, after that, we have Ray Narration and DV or DA Boss DVG Gaming, who said that Millwall would win 3-0. Now, Ray Narration said, "Come on, you Lions," at the end of his prediction. Harry CD said that Millwall would win 4-0 against Gillingham, which, I'm going to be honest, was quite a distance off of the correct goal score line there. But to be fair, that ambition to expect us to score that many goals is fantastic, and I would have loved to have seen that, especially in a derby game. Now, another prediction that was, I'm going to be honest, a little over the top in expectation was Conzi's World. He said that Millwall would win by 3 goals in the game, winning the match 4-1. Two people that thought Millwall would just about get the win, but their scorelines were just off, I would say, was Ronnie Temple and Jadams. They both thought that the scoreline would end 3-2. Very close to the scoreline, but again, was wrong. The final person to predict was Red Army TV Vlogs, and he said that Gillingham would win 1-0. Liam Gaming was quick to say that he expected this wouldn't be the case. So that was against Gillingham, but what was the score predictions for the game against AFC Wimbledon? Well, no one actually got the score right. Most of you were very close with your predictions. Actually, this prediction, which was the first one that I'm going to be talking about, was the closest scoreline to the whole thing and was the most popular. As you may or may not know, the game finished 2-2, and so the closest score prediction was 2-1, and 7 people predicted this scoreline. A very, very good scoreline by most of you, almost getting the right result. Now, the people that predicted this were Ray Narration, DA Boss DVG Gaming, and Joe Conway. Now, Joe Conway said that Morison and Gregory would score. Now, that was very close, as Morison did score in this occasion, but Gregory didn't. Joe Holloway and Liam Gaming also predicted the same people to score with the same scoreline. Now, Tunbridge Fan TV and Red Army TV were the other two people to say that they expected that scoreline. Now, the next closest in terms of predictions was Jadams. He said that he expected the scoreline to end 2-0 with the Lions winning. Now, someone that was also 2 goals off was Conzi's World, as he said that Millwall would win 3-1. The next two are the final two that predicted, and they sort of both had different scorelines, but both expecting it to be 3 goals around about wrong it was. The final score predictors were Elite She and Ronnie Temple. Now, Ronnie said that the score would end 1-0 to the Lions, and Elite She said that Millwall would win 3-0. Now, onto your comments, and the first person to comment was Yadams. He said his views on the team. He said, I think we'll now kick on with our season. If Hutchinson can stay fit with Webster, then we've got ourselves an experienced and powerful solid back line, with Craig or Martin on the left, and Romeo or Cummins on the right. Now, in the midfield, you've got Ben, Butcher and Williams, all great players, with Ferguson and O'Brien on the left and Worrell and Fred on the right. Now, Wild should leave as he's not as good as the others and he'll never get into the squad. Up front, you've got Lee and Steve. These two are great together, and since Steve's been back, Lee's started to look like the player that he was last season. The reason he was not amazing at the start was because he was still carrying an injury, and he also said, sorry for the long comment, come on you Lions, and moo, and he finished off with great video. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I kind of think we've been in a good position for a while. Now, I just think it's been clouded by a few poor performances, and the team, well, we are a strong team, I'm going to be honest, and well, when they've been able to play their football, they've looked really good, and I just think that pressure's come on to the team, and they haven't played as well as what they'd been hoping to, but now that we've got some good results, we can start to get out there, we can start to perform like the team that people know we can be. We're definitely one of the top teams in the league, and we've got to start proving it now. The second comment was by Liam Gaming, and well, I say comment, he said quite a number of things. Now, the first was a question, and he said, who do you think should be captain? And now to that I say Tony Craig. He's the captain. We need to accept this. He is actually in his contract that he has to be the captain. So if he isn't the captain, then why would he be at the club? And I'm going to be honest, there is no question really. If he's the captain, he should stay as the captain. And he's not actually a bad defender. I really don't mind him in the defence. He looks good as a left back, not so strong as a centre back, but he doesn't seem to have that partnership with Webster down. He never had that in the past anyway, so perhaps as a left back that's probably the best way to go. But I kind of think he did disagree with what I said there, as his next comment was, do you think Craig should go? I do. Now, I would assume that means he doesn't really like Tony Craig, and that's probably a catalyst for this next question. And he says, do you think we need a new defender? And to that I say, as long as Hutchinson and Webster stay fit, then probably not. We've got a good defence. I really think that as long as those two are the two centre-backs, I think we'll be fine. Now, his next question is quite intriguing. He said, do you think Jordan Archer will go? And, well, I don't think he will, but I say give him 2 more seasons of playing and us not actually getting promoted, and perhaps he probably will. I think there'd be a strong chance that he'd actually leave just to really get more progress in his development, because he's playing in League One, yeah, fair enough. That's not the worst league in the world, but he wants to be in the Championship soon, and if we can get there, then I reckon he'll stay along, but you just don't know. You don't know what could happen. He might get offered by a huge club. You just don't know, but at the moment, I'd say I don't think he's going to go, because he knows he's being sensible. He knows that he's going to get his best development here while he's playing first team football for Millwall. And the final question that Liam said was, do you think we need a new experienced manager? Well, I'm going to be honest here. I don't think we do, because most managers do tend to struggle at Millwall. If I say an example, we say Ian Holloway now. Yes, it was a good sign at the beginning, thinking that he came in, kept us up. Okay, yeah, good manager. But as soon as the problems started to come, he couldn't have it as a manager. And when I'm going to be honest, I saw some stats about a week ago, I think, and Neil Harris actually has a better win ratio than Kenny Jackett did. And he actually had a better win ratio than Dennis Wise and any other manager for the last 20 years. So I'm kind of going to say we don't need a new manager. And I'm going to be honest, Harris hasn't done the worst. Obviously, you want development, you want improvement, but the team's not that bad. We've just been suffering from a bit of bad form. Now, moving on to the songs that he commented with, and he said, no one likes us, no one likes us, we don't care, we are Millwall, Super Millwall, we are Millwall from the den. Meh. I've got to say, I love that song, and that's a great thing to put into the podcast. He followed that up with Gregory, and then the final thing that he said was actually, he commented this during the AFC Wimbledon game, as I was preparing my podcast during that point, so I know that he actually put it in there, and he said, Millwall till I die, and Millwall till I die. Meh. Again, another great song. But on to the next person to comment, and that was Thomas Gaming, who said, do you think Millwall will make it into the playoff finals again or to get automatic promotion? And to be honest with you, I expect the playoffs. Now, that's just because there are three top teams battling for the top of the table at the moment. And I just think that getting into playoffs would be realistic with those three teams being very strong. I mean, Sheffield United might actually go up. We then got Scunthorpe and Bolton. Bolton are a strong side. Scunthorpe have been good for quite a while. So I'd say if we can get into those three teams and make it four teams, then you just never know what could happen. Now, there was an almost carbon copy question of this by someone called The Vlogging Line, but his main difference was that he involved Millwall and Charlton in that question, saying how does he think each side's going to perform. And to be honest, I would expect to see both Millwall and Charlton in the playoffs. Now, if they met in the final, what a cracker of a game that would be, and I think you guys would love to see that just as much as I would. The next person to comment was Harry CD, and he gave his views on a few members of the team and the O'Brien rumours. Now, let's cover the first piece that he said, and that was, I'm a big fan of Romeo. I think that he's been one of our best players this season. However, Cummins has been quality, and he's been more of a defensive fullback, which I think is what we need at the moment. So I'd say Cummins over Romeo at the moment. I'm also a huge fan of Hutchinson. We kept 4 clean sheets this season. 3 of those have been kept when Hutchinson was playing. So that really says how good he is at the moment. And to be honest, I agree with the fact that we've been doing really well at the moment. Hutchinson's been great, so has Cummins. But as much as I like Romeo, I don't think I like him as much as some Millwall fans do. I'm going to be brutally honest there. I really don't think I do. I love Cummins at the moment, and I think that I'm going to be loving this battle between Cummins and Romeo. That battle for the place in the team, the right back position, is going to be crucial, and I love it when someone battles, because that competition in a team is just what makes it so brilliant, because if you have 2 strong players battling it out for a position in the team, it can't go wrong, can it? And I agree completely with you about Hutchinson. The only problem is, and this is just a little problem, and it's the fact that there's that niggling little idea of, will he get injured again? Because if he gets injured again, how long will it be for? And if it does, it could be huge and really hurt us. Harry's next comment was a tribute to Ben Thompson and his performance against Charlton. As he said, we should mention Ben Thompson and how he played against Charlton. It was phenomenal. You don't just get players like him anymore. Even Alan Dunn joked on Twitter saying he idolises Ben. He shows what playing for Millwall should be all about. He finished with keep up the good content, mate. And can I just say about Ben, he was outstanding against Charlton, and he really is a great gung-ho style player. And I'm going to be honest, he would have been just as good against Charlton had he not been booked. Because basically, him getting booked is like him being injured. It really damages his play, and it means he can't go in for a big challenge, which he wants to, that big tackle, because if he gets it wrong, he's going off that pitch, and it's happened before, it really has. It's upsetting to see that happen, but you know, it's better to have him on the pitch performing well than it is not having him on the pitch at all. So I 100% agree that Ben Thompson is a fantastic player. Still got a few moments of his game to develop, but then again, he's playing really well at the moment, and he's been put in with 3 players challenging for that midfield, I'd say, out of Butcher, Williams, and then him, and he's seeming to come out pretty well on top at his young age, which is really good to see. The final comment was Harry's views on the ordeal with Aiden O'Brien. He said, I've just read an article that Barnsley, QPR, Fulham and Wigan are all trying to get O'Brien in January for around 750k. Personally, I don't want him to leave. I think he's vital to our squad. However, I do think Fulham could tempt him away, as he'll still be living in London on a higher wage, and it's just for the fact as well that Fulham are just outside the Championship playoffs. And to that, I've got to say, I think he is crucial for us at the moment, especially as he is scoring a lot of goals very regularly. So, I'm going to be honest, I hope that Aiden actually stays, and I believe that he would love to stay with Mill just to help us for this promotion push, and he doesn't get clouded by the judgment of money and Premier League potential football. Some players get it, some players don't. I don't know what type of player Aiden is at the moment, but I'm hoping he's going to be sensible and stay with us. I know it's just pure speculation at the moment. Moving on to Conzi's World comment, and it was on the same thing. He said, what do you think about the speculation on clubs like Fulham, QPR and Barnsley after O'Brien? Do you think he'd go, and the rumours of 750k, do you think he's worth it or more? Good video, pal. Right, so I'm going to go into more detail about this comment. as I got asked my opinion on this. So I know most of it is just pure speculation at the moment, and it could be just the press trying to cause some trouble for the Lions, you know, like they did with Lee Gregory in the summer with that Rotherham issue. Now, Harris has come out and said all these key players will stay, and well, no one's actually put in a bid for any of our key players at the moment, especially Aiden O'Brien. However, if he was to go, and in terms of a price, if we look at Adoma Lookman, he's going for around about 10 million. I think I've heard, I don't know whether it's quite been confirmed yet, but if we just go around that basis of the years, and that would be to Everton, a Premier League club. Yeah, fair enough. O'Brien to the Championship. But Lookman's 19, and I'd say that the price in the market for O'Brien, just done on that basis, Championship, he's a decent player. I'm going to be honest, O'Brien is a decent player. I would price him at 1.5 million at least, because that's the way the market's gone. When you're paying so much money for certain players, it would just be right to go for that, because he's obviously a little bit older than Lookman, a little bit more honed in his skill. Well, kind of, yeah, around about that. He's honed in a lot more of his skill than what Lookman has at the moment. But he's a valuable player. That money should be reasonable, but I shouldn't see no reason for him to go. The final comment was to boss DVG Gaming, and he posed a question: do you think if Harris doesn't get us promotion this season, he could get the sack? Now, before I say my thoughts, Joe Holloway responded with, I think it's almost a guarantee that he will be replaced if there's no major improvement. So, what's my take on this? Well, to be honest, I don't think he'll get sacked as long as we finish in a similar position to last season. Now, that would mean he'd be under more pressure from both the fans and the board to get Millwall over the line and become a championship side. Obviously, that's the target. That's what we all want. But to be honest, I think if you look at where the team was when Harris first took over, it really has improved in confidence and quality. And these are the same lads, really, that started last season with him. Obviously, excluding a few in David Worrell and Sean Hutchinson. Now let's take a look at our weekly instalment of the Loan Watch, and the first player we'll be taking a look at is goalkeeper David Ford. He managed to keep his 10th clean sheet as his side Pompey drew 0-0 with Yeovil. Portsmouth also had a second game, and they played up against Luton Town, and Ford played 90 minutes and kept his 11th clean sheet in that game as Portsmouth beat them 1-0. The next player is Ryan Bray, who is on loan to Jimmy Bullard's Leatherhead. And as far as I'm aware, he didn't play against Hadlow Town, but he did play against Merston. And Ryan played and actually started the whole game, got the full 90 minutes in that match. From one younger player to another, we move on to Paul Rooney, who played the full 90 minutes in Torquay's huge 5-all draw with Forest Green. Do you remember when I was reporting on saying that it was 4-3? Yeah, it went to a 5-all draw in that next time they played, but that was the only game that Torquay played. Now, Harry Gerlin, that's a name that you didn't think you'd be hearing on Loan Watch again, featured the full 90 minutes as Welling United beat Margate 5-1, meaning Welling are 15th in the Vanarama South, and Gerlin returned as new manager Jamie Day thought he needed cover for his injured goalkeeper Chris Lewington. That's why he's back at Welling United, because they needed him again. Now, the final player is Paris Cowan-Hall, who featured or played in 66 minutes of Wycombe's 1-0 win against Cheltenham Town before being subbed off for Gary Thompson. Now, Wycombe did have a second game and he played in it, but it was after coming off the bench against Newport County. Now, he came on as a sub in the 68th minute and he scored within the 80th minute, and guess what? That won the game 2-1 for Wycombe Wanderers in the end. Not so bad for Paris Cowan-Hall then, and I believe he is returning from his loan pretty soon. Well, he may be, he may not be. We'll have to see how that one goes. Let's take a look at the two matches that Millwall played, with the first being the 2-1 win over Gillingham. In this match, Lee Gregory scored a great goal on the turn after the ball was headed down to him by Steve Morison, but Millwall seemed to not do very well for the rest of the first half. I'm going to be honest, I feel Gillingham dominated the play, but really didn't do much with their possession, and they really should have counted themselves unlucky. One good chance, it probably would have gone in the back of the net. Moving on into the second half, and again, not so much happened for quite a while. That was until Millwall's goal around about that time, I'm going to be honest, because Paul Konchesky was booked before, obviously, the second Millwall goal, and that was for Fred scoring it. As Gregory put the ball over the top to Fred, he then flicked it over into the goalkeeper. He then fell down with the ball, and well, Paul Konchesky went to move away and Fred toe poked it into the back of the net. And then the next turning point was when Paul Konchesky later got booked again, which was the sending off for catching Fred close to the box. Then Gillingham played much better with the 10 men, as Millwall cannot play against 10 men. Well, that's just my opinion. The next great moment of the match was the Bradley Dack goal. I'm going to be honest, you have to be a Millwall fan or a Gillingham fan, it don't matter. That goal was a stroke of masterclass. An absolutely fantastic goal. Obviously, he shouldn't have been given the space he had given, but I tell you what, hitting it first time that well, what a goal by Bradley Dack. And well, I believe the yellow card that he got fueled that. It really was unfortunate for him getting the yellow card. He talked himself into the book for that one. Now, after that, it really was a matter of Gillingham were on the attack time after time after time, and they really looked like they was going to get it. But obviously, that never come, and Bradley Dack got another yellow card for a lunge on Ben Thompson, and that ended Gillingham's hopes of getting the point. Now, before I move on to the AFC Wimbledon game, I asked Talk Gillingham if he could give his analysis of the game, and here it is. He said, Millwall started the game on top with a few chances and had a chance cleared off the line by Josh Wright. You could tell a Millwall goal was coming, and eventually it came in the 13th minute. We had a lot of the ball, but it was so ineffective with the ball not clinically like Millwall. We were lacking a cutting edge and that finishing touch what Millwall had. Paul Konchesky had an absolute mare. I still don't have a Scooby what he was doing for Fred Onyema's goal. Then he puts in a stupid challenge and gets himself sent off. We livened up a bit when Bradley Dack scored, but the lunge into the stupid challenge where he'd already had a yellow card was stupid. He might have got the ball, but he went off the ground and that was a red card in my opinion. We got caught on the break so many times, which was killer. Our defence needs sorting out in a big shake-up. Well done to Millwall. Good luck for the rest of the season. Up the Gills. So on to the second game that Millwall played, and as you know, this was a derby game away to AFC Wimbledon. Now, before we actually get into that, did you know that AFC Wimbledon have never beaten Millwall? No, Millwall have always beaten AFC Wimbledon, or obviously prior to this game, there was a 0-0 draw at the Den. And well, this game went pretty well as Millwall started off fantastically with getting a goal by O'Brien, scoring an amazing goal from 25 yards. If you haven't seen it, I really advise you guys go have a look at that. But the lead didn't last long, as former Millwall player Lyle Taylor scored 7 minutes after Aiden O'Brien's goal in the 5th minute. But just before half-time, Millwall's lead was actually extended thanks to a Steve Morison goal as he beat James Shea to the ball on the edge of the box, and Morison lobbed the goalkeeper. Morison does love a cheeky lob and he's always trying it, so I'm glad he got that goal. But Wimbledon did get back into the game after a great bit of play by the former Lion Lyle Taylor, who crossed the ball into the box for Tom Elliott to header the ball past Jordan Archer. Mill had appeals to the ball crossing the line from a defender touching it, but the linesman said the ball didn't pass the line. Both sides had plenty of chances, but neither really made a difference, and well, that would be the way it would finish at 2 apiece. That leads me on to Player of the Week, and this week I've picked Steve Morison as the veteran was great in his build-up play and his presence in the area against Gillingham was fantastic. He got an assist in that game for the Gregory goal, and it's really hard to score chips, and he done well against AFC Wimbledon by getting that goal. He's showing at his age he's still got the ability to be starting for the Lions, and that's why, in my opinion, he made Player of the Week. And finally, we've come to the final section of the podcast. Yes, that's right, it's time for the Millwall news. The first bit of news comes from Northampton Town, as Greg Wild has officially left the Lions on loan to join up with his new teammates at Northampton until the end of the season. Their manager, Rob Page, said Greg adds a new style to the way Northampton could play. Greg started Northampton's game against Bradford on the bench and featured 32 minutes after coming off the bench for Paul Anderson. When he came on for Northampton, they went from winning 1-0 to losing 2-1, and he will be added to loan watch for next week. Neil Harris is the outlet of the next news story, as he said it was very critical of Millwall's goal that they conceded against Gillingham. And he said he made sure his players knew he wasn't happy because they had had many clean sheets up until that point, and the defence had and continued to work so well as a unit, but allowed Dack too much space for his goal, knowing how good Dack is and the fact that he can make difference in games. Harris also said that he's still very much involved in Millwall's training and does it so the strikers can continue to show the consistency, perform well, learning from someone someone who was a striker and scored lots of goals can really help the team. The next story comes from Neil Harris talking about his new defender. Well, I say new defender, new player that he's got really into the team since his return from injury, Sean Hutchinson. As he said, he's found form at the perfect time because the winter period is difficult, and if you can perform and stay fit, then that will help Millwall for their promotion push. And the final news story I'm sure you've heard of so many times in this podcast because I've touched on it so many times now, and that's to do with Aiden O'Brien and a couple of newspaper outlets saying that there's a lot of championship interest for our striker. But may I just stress that Neil Harris said no key player will go, and there's been no official bids for the striker as of yet. So that is all I've got time for today at least. Do feel free to put your questions and opinions in the comment section for the next Talk the Wall. However, before I go, don't forget to put your score predictions for that huge FA Cup tie against the Premier League opposition in Bournemouth in the comment section, as next week I'll be covering that game and highlighting the good and bad points. And why don't you tell me your opinions on that match and Millwall as a whole? So, like, comment, subscribe, and of course I will see you guys next week for the next Talk the Wall. But until then, goodbye.
We are heroes to